But one thing about it, my mama, my people always said, "Send a carry you far, but it'll take you further than you want to go."
Woo!
And that's the whole thing about this film.
Back to Grown Folks Talking. I'm your host, CK It, with my co-host.
Lola Chanel.
Today we're going to be talking about Ryan Coogler's Sinners. That has been the talk of the town for several weeks. We just
Yep.
saw it this week. If you have a brief synopsis, give it to me.
Yes.
If not, we'll move forward.
Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back.
I was not planning to watch this film because I don't do horror films. Like,
Yeah.
I don't do slashers, things like Saw, The
No,
Conjuring. That's
none of
not
the
my
above.
ministry at all.
Nope.
But I do like suspense. So Get Out worked
Yes.
for me. It was just enough to where this is suspenseful, but and scary, but not like I can't sleep at night. And also
Mm-hmm.
that may not be a great example. Well, for this film, it's a cultural moment. Get Out was a cultural moment.
It's such a
This
cultural
film,
moment. This
I would almost say this might be a global moment on this piece of art. But back to the slasher thing, I don't do it. So I knew the reason why I was like, I support you, Rhyme, and as they were doing the marketing, but I'm not gonna see it. Not me.
I asked
And then,
lots and lots of questions before because I knew I was gonna go see it. I really wanted to go see it, but I too am a scary girly. I don't like y'all have you have heard me say to multiple times to multiple people, if we going down to the apocalypse, the Lord, obviously it's my time to go because I'm not fighting it. So I was like, I'm not even gonna watch it. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
It was a great film. I mean, the casting.
It was very
on. Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. But I want to get into the meat because there's a lot to unpack
of it.
This because I will say this because of people talking about it so much so, I had the fear of missing out, and I wanted to see the film. So I did. Happy I did, and I will say that the trailers kind of misled me because this film is about music. It just so happens there's vampires in it, and that frames it a lot differently than this is a vampire film.
I think that's where people were getting, because when I was talking to my peoples last night after I watched it, because shameless plug, yesterday was my birthday. I turned 26. Whoop whoop. When we were talking,
congratulations.
What one of my folks was getting hung up on was they were so confused as to why it was vampires, and I was just like, I think that you guys are honing in on the vampire-ness of it all a little. I think you're hanging up on it too much. You've got to go deeper. You've got to go deeper. And I don't think necessarily about music. I do think that music played a huge part, but I think it was about the history behind music and the gifts that we have.
Okay. We can debate on that.
Let's debate on that.
Let's debate on that one. But I will back to the vampire component. The way it was marketed to me, there was going to be vampires.
I think that was a good thing to pull the people in.
It's right. If you like vampires, this could be up your alley. And so a friend of mine who really is into vampires, she was a little disappointed because she was expecting more the vampire part of it. I'm like, there was plenty
Mm.
But you also have to think vampires has been there have been plenty of vampire films
So
and
many.
plenty of types of vampire films.
Mhm.
I have seen scary films, so I watched Interview
Yeah.
with the Vampire, like that was fine, and um what the series AMC series that's on Netflix, I watched that one and that's very good. So I wish someone would if someone would have said it's kind of like Interview with the Vampire, that sensibility.
Hmm.
I probably would have gone to see it more readily because than what my original concept was it's going to be like Saw. It was going to be like those super scary films where um they're coming to grab you, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not
But
going to
see,
pay for that.
the thing about it is the clips that I was seeing, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of clips of them like as vampires. Like, yeah, the clip that
Oh,
was going viral for me was the clip was when Cornbread when was trying to come back in and be let in, and he would when he asked for the money to be paid is when he
uh-huh.
snatched. That's the clip, the trailer that
So
I
you've
had
seen
been
it.
seeing. I hadn't seen, and then but I also I'm not. I don't care about spoilers, but I'm not sitting to watch a trailer too much. Because I know eventually the clips will pop up on social media.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Okay, all right, cool. So moving on,
Hmm.
we talked about we were saying music. So my
Hmm.
question for you, what is this movie trying to say about music? I think it's saying music is universal. You come from a music background, I come from a music background. I went to school, studied it, performed it, had family members who are musicians,
Hmm.
church musicians, in
Hmm.
fact. Some aren't. So we could get it. I would absolutely love to talk to you about the dichotomy of church music versus secular music, aka the devil's music. That was a
It's all the
theme
same.
that was in the film.
It's all the same.
Huh?
It's all the same.
All right.
R&B is
So,
just gospel without Jesus in it. It's
but the one of the biggest tenets of living in the South and going
oh
to church
baby,
and
my people. When I was growing up, there was no
mhm,
secular music down to my people and my mama's house. Okay, so this movie is great for me. This movie
mhm.
is great for little of me. I am from the Mississippi Delta. My grandfather, they talked about a city in the movie called Mount Bayou. My peepaw was born in Mount Bayou. He was born in that city
Oh.
by a black doctor. He got a nickname in that city because he was born when his mother gave birth to him. The doctor was black. That city still exists. It is still a thriving city. It's very small. You ride through it, you might miss it, but it is,
Mhm.
it is a very well and thriving city. I spent lots of summers in that city going to church and Baptist convention. So this movie is great because this is what the stories are not new to me. While it may have a different context, adding the vampires, it's all the same thing. It's all the
Okay.
same. So shout out to the Mississippi Delta. It will always have a place in my heart. But
And Ryan mentioned in my deep dive, Ryan mentions that like the blues is what birthed rock and roll, what
yes,
birthed jazz, basically what birthed American music as today was birthed in the Mississippi Delta.
in the Mississippi
Um,
Delta. And, Memphis gets the name of the home of blues,
Beale
but
Street.
with Bill Street, but without BB King's coming from Indianola, Mississippi, you wouldn't, and him going to Memphis and then and the Saints leaving, the Mississippi Delta's the sharecrop and going to these larger cities like Little Rock, like Memphis, they would not exist without the Mississippi Delta. Then people had to leave where they were to go further.
Go further and make money and performing. And in the film, there was Little Rock was mentioned, I think at least three times. And
Several
I was
times.
asking my several times, and I was
I'm
asking
sorry, BB is from
because
Itabena, not Indianola. He has a museum in Indianola, but he's from Itabena. Shout out to Mississippi Valley State.
Absolutely. So he was saying that musicians, and even in they were he one of the twins was telling Sammy, you can go up to Chicago, you can go down to Little Rock, and the reason was is as a performer, those are the one of the few places that
Mm-hmm.
black musicians could play. And my coworkers mentioning Ninth Street, Mosaic Templar Cultural Center is on
Mm-hmm.
Ninth Street, and he was saying if not for what I took to be racism, and Ninth Street in Little Rock would have been as popular and known as a mecca for a hub for black artists, black blues, like the Beale Street, like Memphis. But that's not that's not the way history saw it to be.
Yeah,
So
of course. I mean,
there, yes.
the 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 history behind how these places got to be, and the wealth that came that surrounded it, even when black people were building it up, white people wanted a piece
Mm-hmm.
of that. And so in order for them to build it up, they had to tear us down. So
Yeah.
of course
And I think Ninth
we couldn't
Street is
have
one of
Voodoo.
the yes. Ninth Street was one of the casualties of having black wealth and then it being tore down. I believe I didn't do all my
Oh
research
yeah.
on that, but there's more to come as I continue my deep diving. So back to the music part of it when you talk about Sammy wanting to play the blues. His like the movie opens with him
Yeah.
going to church and the part of the guitar hand, and then he's holding his dad is like, you leave that, let it go, and basically come on into the fold and give your life to Christ and be a minister.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happens till the very end. So the whole kind of thought process that Kugler is saying with music is that it's very much universal, and that it's where your culture is, the music that you listen to is there's a through line between Irish music and black music, which I was like, how explain that one
Well,
to me, Ryan? I don't know about that one.
the okay, so I think where he was getting that one from is because of how how the Irish were treated in in their earlier years, and how they
Oh
were
yes, yes.
how they had to because that was Remic's whole thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I we are one and the same in how we were
Mm-hmm.
treated, and how
Yes,
our land was stolen, or how our culture was stolen, and kind
stolen.
of and shifted or demonized in a way. So
Yes.
he hit Remic's whole thing was, I understand you because it happened to me, so come join me so we can wipe out what's going on. Now I realize that because if you think about it, when everybody was turned, they weren't singing blues. They were singing the folk
Oh.
music. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like you turned all these people and said that we would be one, but you didn't even try and take our music. You then turned them all and said, "Now sing this,"
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
where Remick lost, because I was just like, because it kind of he was trying to bring them all together, but it was
Yeah.
like,
Communal.
but in his wanting togetherness, he still was trying to erase what, as black Southerners, what they had already.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh,
Well, okay. One person said it was thought Remick was culturally appropriating the
oh
music, and
yeah,
I was like, I don't know about that. I
I
think
wouldn't say that
Remy,
though.
I think he appreciated Sammy. He was like, you sound familiar. Like you sound like my folks,
I think the
and how
appreciation,
music gets people in a space that's very communal and
right?
very we're vibing on the same level, and just the artistry of it, of this person having this power that is almost hypnotic
I think the
sonically.
appreciation, I think the appreciation started to warp into, I want this for me.
Okay. Okay.
I think it may have started as appreciation, or looked to be.
Mm-hmm.
appreciation, but I think
Mm-hmm.
as we go on throughout the film, you see when he started to baptize him in a way, because that's what was happening. He, it, you could tell that he he really wanted that gift. I think that gift that Sammy had, he felt like he had to have it, and at any cost, he was willing to get it. So I think the appreciation. What is the word that I'm looking for? But I think the appreciation, it started to leave the room. The appreciation
Starts
it,
leaving the room.
it was the want. It was the absolute need,
The desire.
the desire.
Other the other thing that I thought was where Ryan was using a common trope and turning it on his head. So when Remy, they was like, he was outside trying to be let in. He was like, "Oh, we're musicians. We're trying to play. We're trying to get inside." And they was like, "Well, play something." And I was like, "It's gonna sound horrible. It's gonna sound real bad." Because uh, as a black people, especially in the church, we recognize when people can sing, like singers,
Mm-hmm.
and people who can sing. That's why Beautiful Gowns is a meme.
Gowns,
Beautiful
beautiful
Gowns.
gowns,
And
because
that's all like
and that's
but
all
she
we can offer.
but she has a following. She has
I
amassed
have a
millions of
theory
dollars.
on why she has such a cult following. And I know if them people got a hold to my theory, they would burn me at the stake.
All right. I, to pivot, but I would just say there's a difference. We can recognize a lot of people who can sing, who
Mm-hmm.
can sing, and recognize, you know what, this, you have a talent. I It's not enough talent for me to support you, but you have a
Hello?
talent and you're making money
You
with that.
got it.
And then you have people who are super talented and they still may not have like the like R&B singers who are just like, this girl can sing down,
But they
but
not.
she doesn't get the they don't have the business part of it. They may not have the look of it. What's the lady on Everybody Dance, like Martha Wash, like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So the where he flipped the trope was Remick was singing, like he was
Oh, he was
singing
singing
the
down.
Irish jig and singing down,
Singing
and like they
down with
were
the
doing.
jig.
I was like,
They got
jig.
it.
I was like,
It wasn't
oh,
for me. Stack was
I was in,
Stack was impressed. Stack was like,
I was
no.
impressed. I was impressed because I was like, oh, I thought they were going to be horrible. Like I thought they were sonically going to be
Well,
bad.
I didn't think that they were going to be horrible because
Oh, really?
I could tell. I mean, they at this point, Remick is really trying to. He's really trying to get the folks on his side. He really needs to be let in. So
Mm-hmm.
at all costs, I need to
Oh,
do what I need to do.
go
I
there.
did not think that in his quest to really infiltrate the juke joint, he was not gonna come with his best. I'm pretty sure they
Oh,
was
okay.
they was practicing that song, and he was Maddie Moss Clark and them folks to get the. I mean, you have got to hit the notes when we get down to the juke joint. They're gonna want to hear it. So I need y'all to be on your best behavior. We got these ukuleles and these fiddlers, and we have got to do what we need to do.
He was like Ike. He was like Vampire Ike. Get
Hello,
it right.
get
Get
it,
it right.
get it right, get it right.
You got to impress him.
Start over.
All right, so let's go to the scene that everybody's talking about. The reason why I want to see the film again,
Oh, I will be seeing it
and
at least 3 more times.
and really honing in on the theory of music is universal, where Sammy is singing,
Hmm.
and then the camera opens up, pans out, and then you just see kind of the evolution of
Of music.
music and culture
Hmm.
through all the different iterations
Yes.
of music throughout these different time periods,
Hmm.
culture, and people. So you're gonna have to jog my memory. So I saw hip hop for sure.
It was hip
I saw.
hop. It was jazz. It
Mm-hmm.
was the ballet. It was. I think it was some gospel. It was gospel. It was
Okay, I missed that.
beatbox. It
Mm-hmm.
was.
I saw Asian.
Yes. Yes.
interpretation, like,
It
and I
was.
think Native American,
Yes.
maybe. Okay,
I, n- no.
maybe
No, no, no,
no.
no,
Okay,
no. Not that I can remember, but it
we
could have
got to
been
go
in there.
back.
But the beauty of it all, to realize that our music does not, it's not changing. Even though the seasoned saints might be like, oh, all that racket. Even sometimes I have to catch myself now when I'm talking to my kid and be like, it's not changing. It just sounds different. The
Hmm.
sound has evolved. Like,
Hmm.
now, granted, I'm an anomaly because my favorite genre is Motown. I listen to my playlist that I have curated, that is
Uh-huh.
Motown Philly and Motown, and that sound and era, that is my favorite. But I also can understand and appreciate that throughout the years, from rap and MC and gospel and
Hmm.
blues and
Hmm.
jazz, they are all throughout the same pipeline. And they all come from the church, believe it or not.
But I would say you got to go back. They may come
Yeah,
from
you gotta
the motherland.
get,
The
yeah,
motherland.
it does come from the motherland, but the sound and and
Yes.
the 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 culture of it all for African Americans who
Hmm.
are descendants of slavery,
Hmm.
the sound does come from the church more often than not.
I'll agree. Yes, agreed. Agreed. So saying that music is universal, then the adage of going back to our history of saying that is the devil's music is kind of incorrect. Like
Oh, it
like
is correct.
like having his dad saying you need to let that devil music alone is incorrect if we are in agreement based on this scene that music is all coming from the same place.
Yes, and I raised you during that
Okay.
time, all in the deep south, where during this time it's the 1930s.
Right.
So the south is still not that far removed from a lot of craziness. We are in the Jim Crow south. We are in a time where the black people are free, but technically not free, because like you said, like in the film, uh Smoke is upset because they are taking not actual
Wood.
dollars, they're taking
Wood
wood nickels,
nickels. Hmm.
because you have sharecropping where the people still live on the master's land. They
Hmm.
still, technically, they are doing the work and getting paid, but they aren't getting paid in American dollars. They're getting paid the money that the sharecropper made up
Right.
to circulate
Hmm.
back within
And
the
that.
community, and
Hmm.
within that community, because it keeps you tied down. You can't get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. You cannot sell your wood nickels
You
to get
can't sell
to
your wood nickels.
for.
And you hear stories of people who, like Slim, how he got so far, and how his friend got so far,
Hmm.
and because the white folks was like, there's no way you have all of this money, there's no way you have all this money, and killed him with no
Yes.
remorse, and made up a story about him. I think Sammy's dad and most preachers and people who stayed within the South, who had no aspirations or desires to leave the South, it was a way to keep them safe.
Right.
Blues did
Right.
not
Right.
keep you safe, because blues gets you drunk. Blues gets you too happy to where you can't focus, where you can't think. So you need to stay within the reigns of the Lord to
Hmm.
to stay here. The movie is
Well,
genius.
to
It's
be safe
beautiful.
and to be alive,
Yeah.
because there was Ku Klux Klan was very
Yes.
apparent there, and in the story that Slim said, Delta Slim said, like they cut off his anatomy
Mm-hmm.
and then hung him.
And
So
then
just
over
brutalize him.
just because they felt that he shouldn't have any money. Like,
Right, right. How dare you?
how
You
dare
are a
how
dark.
dare you have aspirations and
Mhm.
have the coin to get out? I need, no.
Right. So so his dad had that slave mentality.
Oh,
We not going
absolutely.
to even dream big. So
We can't
I'm
dream
not going to
big.
dream big, and I'm not going to encourage you to dream big and use your
No.
talent. be a preacher, because with a preacher, you stay in this community, you raise your family, and then you go on and be
And
with them. And
you can be like my grandfather is a child of 9.
mm,
All 8 of his siblings moved to California, but he
oh,
never left Mississippi.
mm,
Never left Mississippi, never. And he's a preacher. He don't believe in that secular music. It's the devil's music.
mm-hmm,
It ain't right. So but you once you listen to the stories, you get into their heads and get into their mindsets of understanding and knowing this is this is why Smoke was telling Sammy, don't be like us. Don't be
mm-hmm.
like us. You don't have to run the streets. Just be a sharecropper. Be a preacher. You'll get some more money by being a preacher. Sing at church. You don't need to sing the blues.
Yeah, but they were like, "Do as I say, not as I do."
Most people are.
That's true.
Most
That's
most
true.
people most people are. But
True.
my
So
mama just
so
told me lots of things, and I'd be like, "Well, girl, wait, you did that.
yeah.
You did that. Why I can't do
Mm-hmm.
it? Do as I
Don't
say,
do
not
it,
as
but
I
like
do."
come and sing this Jew joint and have the time of your life. And Sammy's like, preach your life, this life.
But that was with Stack though. Smoke didn't know that. Smoke didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
that Sammy was gonna be singing. Stack
Okay.
saw when they gave him the guitar, and then Stack and Sammy are in the car, and Sammy starts playing and singing. Stack automatically gets to hit this. Gonna make me some money down at that you. Smoke was like, I don't want him nowhere near this. Actually, I
Yeah.
want to keep him safe. His daddy was better than our daddy. He don't have
Mm-hmm.
to be in this lifestyle that we were in. Smoke wanted nothing. He wanted to keep Sammy out of it. He wanted to just be like, go over there and just be. You don't
Right.
have to do
Just
what
be.
we did. I don't want to live. I don't want you on a run like we do.
Speaking of Smoking Stack, let's talk about
Yes.
the unbreakable bond about twins, particularly identical twins. Ryan Coogler talked about, he said, in many Black neighborhoods, I didn't experience there's a set of twins,
Mm,
and twins just have this bond that's unbreakable,
like
unshakable,
no
and he's
other.
like no other. And you see that play out in the film, not just like biological, because identical is the same making it splits,
Hmm.
but spiritual, and that their relationship, Smoke and Stack, was stronger than relationship with their parents, because
Hmm.
one of them killed one. We don't, and the mom, I didn't go ahead. Which one?
I, smoke smoke killed their father because their father was beaten
Beating him
Stack, and he had
back.
beat him to within an inch of his life.
Okay. Yeah. So he had to go. And
He had to
then
go.
their relationship with their partners. So I call them twin because I have to see it again to realize which one.
So Stack
Which one?
was with Mary. What is her
Stack
name?
was with Mary. Yes.
Stack was
Yes.
with
I know.
Mary, and Smoke was
Mary,
with
right.
Annie.
All right. So Annie and Smoke had a baby. The baby passed,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And I'm assuming that broke up their relation. That may be the last coffin in their relationship. He left
Yeah.
with his brother. And then Stack was in relationship with Mary.
Hmm.
And something, whatever.
Well, Mary was white passing, as she
Yes.
could pass, and because her grandfather was half black.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about she was a one drop rule, but
Mm-hmm.
because her mother and her father were at that point, you would assume that they were fully white at that point. Like, to
Mm-hmm.
create her, she did not have to do much to enhance her appearance of being
Mm-hmm.
white passing. She could just be white passing, and it sounded like she was younger than them.
Yes, it
So
does. It
I
does.
think she on top of her being younger than them, she was white passing enough to where if they were together, if they were seen
It
together,
was gonna be.
they could. And you hear that throughout the movie with Stack basically being like, when Sammy was like, she's staring at you, like that white lady is staring at you.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're having a conversation, he's not facing her for real, because they're in this train station with everybody around. She is a white woman. She is a white passing woman. He's not looking at her because they can't be together. And she
I
doesn't
didn't catch
understand
that.
that because that's a privilege that she. But if he was actually facing and looking at her, talking to her head on, because if once we all go back and look at the film, you can tell that he's like, he got his head down. He tells Sammy, "Don't look at her." So he kind of talking to her. When it gets heated, he looks at her, but he's still like, he ain't trying to be too loud. He like,
Uh,
baby, go away from me. You know we can't be together. We are in the Mississippi Delta and the Klan is right there. They are going to lynch me. Get away. He told her to stay away. She just can't. He
Won't
said,
listen.
she said he put his tongue in places that. She
I
can't
clutched my
let that
pearls,
go.
and I didn't have them. And I was
Well,
like,
I don't think. Well, first of all, that type of behavior was frowned upon because women could not have pleasure. Pleasure was for
yes,
the man. So a man doing that in the 1930s, heck
yes.
yeah, she want to come back. What are you doing? What
And I
are you
see you, absolutely. And I see you, and I raise you, Sammy. They
doing?
had that
Hello,
conversation in the car, and
find the
Sammy,
women.
with the married
Push the
woman,
button.
push the button. So for me, Ryan is very much uh, a twist on a trope
Mm-hmm.
of,
But
of
that's what was going. I That was what was going on during that time. Them people was not faithful for real. In the age
right.
where we
Well,
didn't have social media, and I could go down 200 acres to meet my lover and nobody would be none the wiser. No,
mm-hmm.
she
Yeah,
and she looked young. So I'm pretty
she,
she Perlene looked very young.
yeah.
So I'm going,
So
and then that time, the people were marrying off their children
as
to
mm-hmm.
to get a mouth out of their house. And if there
Yeah,
was an older gentleman who said you look good and you was 15 at the time,
and there you
well,
go.
there you go. There you have
There.
it.
So okay, and the other relationship that their relationship is stronger than is children. Like even like the death of a child, his marriage is falling apart, but their bond
Mm-hmm.
is unshakable, unbreakable. So with that in mind, I was like, oh, there was no way that Smoke was going to kill Stack when he turned. There was no way that was
Yeah.
going to happen.
There is a
And so,
bond though. There is something. I'm I'm very close with my baby sister to where people, when we are out, they think we're twins. And
mm-hmm,
honestly, if I had to choose her life, and in this moment, I probably would have done the same thing Smoke did. I could not bear. Now, yes, and he made a promise to Annie, and he was like, I'm not going, I'm not going to kill him. I mean, I don't
mm-hmm.
want to kill you, but she was like, I don't, there's somebody in the afterlife waiting for me. There's
Yeah,
somebody in the afterlife waiting for you. And I want to
mm-hmm,
go and see our baby.
yeah.
But I probably would have. Because when Stack was behind the door and he was like, let me out, you gonna let her come between us again, you gonna let that witch come between us again, I would have done the same thing that Smoke did. I would not have killed my sister. There's no way I could have done it, twin or not. I would have.
Vampire twin, vampire. He turned. He turned.
Well, the mojo bag wouldn't let uh wouldn't let Smoke get bit.
Oh, that's right.
Now
That's
there
right.
was something that I saw down to, I forgot where I read it. I forgot where I read it. Ugh, it'll come back to me later. The Let's get into the spirituality of it all.
Yes, 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 yes.
The the difference between hoodoo and God when it comes,
Voodoo.
what, no, I think she was practicing hoodoo, not
Oh,
voodoo.
okay. See,
There
I
is
didn't
a
know there was a
difference.
difference.
There's a
Okay.
there's I think voodoo is more so coming from the Cajun Creole. There, I think it's coming
Okay.
more. There's a difference. I can't tell you the difference because I don't study it. I did not look it up, but I do know that she was practicing hoodoo and not voodoo. Somebody said the same way y'all that smoke didn't outright believe in Annie's hoodoo is the same way most people don't believe in y'all grandma's God, but y'all still live off y'all grandmother's prayers. And I think that stuck with me because even when he asked her, why couldn't why couldn't your magic save our baby, and she couldn't answer it,
Mm-hmm.
but also in the same breath he still wore the mojo bag.
Yeah.
He still allowed her to have her practices for him. And you not gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell your grandmama to stop praying for me. You believe in your grandma, and she believes in her God, so that grace is extending to you. And I was
It's
just
to
like,
you.
that whole line of that whole scene was, it was beautiful because you see you.
Well, you're educating me. I didn't think that that perspective, but it totally makes sense. My perspective was the fact that uh, I thought voodoo, I didn't know
Mhm,
about there was difference, was devil, like devil's magic and stuff like that, and to stay away from that. Um,
mhm,
we don't mess with that, especially as going to church Wednesday, Friday. And I think society, you could say, the colonizer have turned
mhm.
hoodoo and voodoo, what is really holistic healing,
Yeah,
um,
because they don't
to
understand
the
it.
layperson.
They don't understand.
Right, right. So if they don't understand it,
And,
it must be bad.
and that's why
And
I
they use,
changed. Yeah, that it must be bad.
so
That's
that badness means uh bad, evil. Don't
yeah.
use that when this is people doing stuff from the earth, but take this medicine that's
Mhm,
been synthesized, or and now we're in alternative medicine
mhm.
to where it's a little bit less but also pay for it, when really get stuff from the ground, stuff from the dirt that your grandma's been using, to put on your chest to make you feel better in the
That
morning, different things like that. But label it as voodoo and magic
right.
and make it bad.
That's why I have changed my thinking as a Christian, as a believer, because we came over here with our own ways of worship, with our own
Mm-hmm.
ways of healing, with our own ways of doing things. And because the transatlantic slave trade, those things got
Mm-hmm.
lost in translation because whereas the white slave owners and everybody else who brought slaves over here, they demonized it so much that they had to change and tinker with our ways as we came over. And so now, because of all of that, our history is lost, our stories are lost, our ways are lost because we have gone through so many traumatic experiences. But you need to know the Western God, the how we read the Bible and how we view the Bible today now has changed. Now, not saying that it's wrong. I do believe the in God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Okay, amen. I do
Absolutely.
not practice
Man.
hoodoo or voodoo,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that if we were to actually do the research and do the history, we would understand more that they weren't just serving other gods completely. They had, it got lost in translation.
You got lost translations. There's things that we just don't know, and
We
that we've
just don't know
been taught over time, is wrong.
because the
And we
colonizers,
are,
they needed something to
yeah,
hold over to us.
yeah.
Because why else would they not allow us to read their language? Why else would they not allow us to learn things on our own? Because it
Mm-hmm.
was never meant to be something bigger than what they thought we were to be. We were never meant to get this
Absolutely.
far ahead. Which
Yeah.
reminds me of a tweet that I tweeted. uh, go. I said, if I brought people over here for servitude to break them down and not be anything more of a human, and they just kept rising, and nothing that I did to block them it worked, I would
Work.
be pissed too. I'd be pissed too. I would be so upset because why do y'all keep thriving? No matter what they did, we always come
Mhm.
out on top. No matter what
Yeah.
happens, we always come out on top. I'd be
Just
pissed
takes
too.
longer than what. Yeah,
It does take longer.
it takes long. Now, one of the things someone was talking about was seven deadly sins, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, could each character represent the seven deadly sins? Do you agree or disagree? Pearline is lust. She married, tempted Sammy, seduced him. Agree or disagree?
I would agree.
I agree. I also agree that Sammy was lust too, because he also knew she was married.
He didn't care.
And
He said,
right,
I see you and I want you.
right. And she was like, come get it. Delta Slam, played by the wonderful Delroy Lindo, who we've talked about before
I
on the
love Delroy
show.
Lindo. I'll say it
That
time and time again. That is a hardworking man.
hardworking man, hardworking actor. He represented gluttony because of the alcoholism and how basically you pay me in this good Irish or beer and I will play all night long. Yeah, he plays so he can drink. Wrath
Yeah.
was smoke and his vengeance at the very end. He could have left with Sammy, but he got his gun. He remembered fighting in that war, and he took down the KKK.
Yes, he did. Uh, yes, he did. I want to talk about Grace because in two
Grace,
folds, two folds
Grace
of
was pride.
Grace.
Go ahead.
Yes, she was pride because I think it was very selfish of her, only for her to die instantly.
Yeah.
I was like, surely she's gonna make it out. That was so
Mm,
disheartening to see. And they were just like, we're gonna make it to the morning. Just let us come up with a plan. The we
right.
you could They still had hours until the sunrise when she did
Mm-hmm.
that. They still had
Yeah.
hours. They could have come up with a plan. She didn't even allow them to come up with a strong plan. She was just pissed. And
She
the
was
crazy
pissed. My only one defense, because I was mad at her for that. I was two. My defense for her was when her turned husband said, "We're gonna go get your daughter," like
But it was her
basically
fault that he
threatening.
was even out there. She heard the
Like
big
she didn't
bad.
know he was gonna be.
She
She didn't
said
know he was
we
gonna be
didn't.
a fan
We didn't. We She had they at that point everybody had left and she had kind of heard what was going on.
with
When Annie said that we dealing with a haint, she was listening through the door. They are in a barn. There is no insulation. She could hear what's going on in that wall because it was just
uh-huh.
them left. And she was like, we came to help them with the juke joint. We didn't come to help them with all of this. She sent him out there because she didn't want to deal with
Oh,
what they were gonna deal with. Now,
to go
did
get the
she
car.
know that there were vampires outside? No.
No.
But in your haste to discard them and go back to your pretty little life, you
Mm-hmm.
set your husband up, therefore setting your daughter up, and now your daughter's an orphan. You did all of that, only for little Lisa to be an orphan.
With that country accent, you know what?
But
You
they
make a
do
good
have
point.
those. They do have those accents. When I say that the Mississippi Delta is still the Mississippi Delta, there was a convenience store because like if you watch the PBS, there's a PBS documentary about Asians in the Deep South and they have accents too. there was a convenience store that I used to walk to as a child to go get whatever little whatever little chips, candies, and stuff that I wanted. And my grandfather, because
I see.
my one of my aunts, she is a historian and author, is what she is in our family, and we got to sit in the pandemic and listen to our grandfather tell stories. But living with him before the pandemic, we heard a lot of his stories, and he's a preacher, so he told a lot of his stories in the pulpit, and they do have those thick Southern accents.
Gotcha.
They were very ingrained in the community. They had migrated to the South during
Okay.
one of those wars, wherever they
One of the big
came,
wars.
because white people of course.
Well, so I wanted them to be let in on an accident, like, because she was just like, "Come on in,"
She,
and which pissed me off.
I
It would
wanted
have
to
been to
be
me.
an
I was like, it would have been
accident.
better if it. Well, I was like, maybe someone in the back didn't he wasn't there at the beginning when they said you can't let in, and they
Mm-hmm.
accidentally said it. That would have helped me with the plot, with help me resolve, like, and then everybody's like, we
It
didn't tell the kid or whatever, we
Yeah,
didn't tell Sammy. But
it pissed me
your
off.
explanation makes it yeah, it works for her character. She was prideful and she was burning, stabbing, and
It
burning.
and I wanted to give her the grace because, as you know, she's a mother. All she was thinking about was her baby, getting back to her baby. But I think she was also still selfish, and she didn't want to be in there with them all night long, because she kept saying, "So what do we do? Let them go and destroy the whole town?" They never left. You heard the music. They were never going back to into the town. You didn't even
Mm-hmm.
like, I was like, "You're gonna piss me off.
Well,
You're
she
gonna
did a good
upset
job.
me." She did a great job at upsetting me. But I don't like, the Saints. Get out that lady's comments. This is fictition. Leave her alone.
Oh, the actress.
Yes, she was playing a
Lord,
character. Leave her
boy,
alone.
you woman
The
alone.
hell is wrong with
Leave
y'all?
her.
Leave her alone.
A character.
She is a
She's still
character.
alive. She's still alive. The baby still. No one died.
No one
making
died.
of this.
No one is gone on to glory or wherever they
None.
go.
Yes, there are no vampires as far as we know.
They are.
Remick was envy. He wanted Sammy's talent to connect to his ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, someone said Mary could also be envy because she was white passing, but she was envious that she could never be like
With
a
Stack.
black woman, and she can never be with Stack.
And
And what? Oh, and Sammy the Sloth. What do you want to say?
I blame Mary too.
Okay, I knew it was coming. You know what? And not even for you. When I saw the movie, I was like, it's gonna be her fault some kind of way.
At the scene of the crime.
It's gonna be her fault some kind of way.
Some kind of way.
And it kind of was. I'll go out there and talk to him.
I'll go out there and talk to him. I'll go out there and because I want you to want me so bad. She kind of I wouldn't say envy either. He should have put his tongue on that lady. She wanted Stack so bad that her judgment was very clouded. It was very clouded. Annie was like, it's something about them. And one thing about it, a black woman gonna have a good intuition. That's where that one drop rule couldn't save her, because she couldn't see it.
Yes, that's spirit.
She could not see it. It was in her gut. It's something in the back of my mind that's saying that these people mean us harm.
But Mary was saying, y'all need the money.
Y'all need the money.
Because Mary was like, this liquor is from this place. You got whiskey from this place. You got beer from.
You got Irish. You got Irish.
The
beer,
Irish,
and you got Italian wine, and you pit them people against it, and now Now, she was smart. She said, I know y'all are hustlers. I know that
Mm-hmm.
are y'all's business is getting it quick and getting it fast. I don't want to be a sharecropper no more. I want out of this southern lifestyle. That's why I went up north. That's why I went into the army. That's why I've been here, here, and here. But one thing about it, my people always said, send a carry you far, but it'll take you further than you want to go.
Woo!
And that's the whole thing about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Because they allowed Grace allowed the sin in for everybody, but it was because they had gone so far. They had flown very close to the sun. The
Mm-hmm.
sin and the greed and what they wanted and what they how they wanted it and how they got went on about it, it carried them
Mm-hmm.
further than they ever thought. And they when they tried to come back, it didn't work out in their favor.
It didn't work out their favor.
Didn't work out in
So,
their favor.
so I'm just saying, was the pastor wrong?
No, he
Was
was
the
not.
pastor?
He was not wrong, but there is a way to do things. Now, he didn't want Sammy singing his shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I think where as a PK and how that lifestyle is, because you are constantly told, no, you can't do this. No, you shouldn't do this. This is the devil. This is bad. This is terrible. But you see on the outside, the people are having so much fun. My
Mm-hmm.
God, on tonight that I preach. That I preach
Amen.
somebody. You see that
Won't you
on the
come?
outside, hello? Is there one? You see that
Is
on the outside, everybody is having fun. You're trying to understand. You saying that they're going to hell. You saying that this bad thing is going to happen to them. But on the flip side, I'm not seeing anything bad happen to them. I'm not
mm-hmm.
seeing I'm not seeing this harm that you speak of. But and the one thing about preachers in the church, they don't they don't foster a relationship to ask the whys and actually
Yeah.
be able to tell you the whys and why it's wrong.
Why? Yeah.
It's
Just that it's
because I said
wrong.
so, and it's wrong,
It's because I said so, and it's wrong.
and it's
Go pray.
go go pray, ask the Lord. But how can I ask the Lord when I only hear your voice?
Go get the belt then. What do you want? Prayer
Hello,
belt.
prayer belt, Bible or belt. That's why we call it the Bible belt.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. Yes. This
This is a great
absolutely.
movie.
This is a really really good movie. So my final portion that that I wanted to bring up was the movie references. So
Uh-huh.
as I was just kind of trying to find out, because Ryan Coogler, he's a filmmaker. He went to film
He
school,
did
so
his
I was like,
big one. This was
he
a
did his
great
big one,
film.
and he talked about how, you know, the filmmakers that he really appreciated are the ones who their big breakout moment was doing something that they owned. So he was like,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm happy to get, this is
His
something that
wife is
came out of
in
me.
on it.
Yes. But so this story is from his family, and not, he's not using somebody. He's not part of Marvel. It's not a part of Marvel. It's
It's
not someone
his.
else's property. It's his. So one of the movie references that he mentioned, he only mentioned two, and then I was like, I think you pulled from other films. Was Puss in Boots: The
Yeah, I
Last
saw
Wish?
that. I was like, well, I haven't seen the Puss in Boots film, so I feel like I would need to.
I
I thought he
I
was
saw
in
it.
saying that and within the eyes, within how
Yes.
the.
So the villain in Puss in Boots, the villain's name is Death, and it's a wolf, and the wolf has glowing red eyes,
Mm,
and mimic Remick, when he bites kind of like a wolf. The other movie that he talks he refer or that someone asks, he's like, oh yeah, sure, of course, is the Robert Rodriguez's film From Dusk Till Dawn. It's a vampire film. Robert Rodriguez, he did El Mariachi. He's an independent filmmaker. He did Spy Kids. That was his like pop. But From Dusk Till Dawn starred George Clooney, and it was about him, Clooney and Quentin Tarantino are on a run from a bank robbery. They go to a
mm-hmm.
topless bar, which is a home base for vampires, and they have to fight their way out along hostages. So, from my perspective, and other people were bringing up other vampire films, But like I said, I don't watch too many vampire films. So as I was watching this movie, I was like, this movie reminds me of a little bit of The Color Purple, Suge
Mm-hmm.
Avery, her relationship with her
Mm-hmm.
dad, the singing in the blues and the Jew joint, and then the church, and that I was like, it's right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I mean,
Steven
because the stories are
Spielberg,
all they
yes, the
weave together.
interweavings,
I mean, if you're telling a story about the Deep South in the 1930s, the stories are going to sound the same.
absolutely. The Inkwell. I don't know if you remember. This is before your time. This is peak my time. This is a black coming of age film.
I gotta watch
Starred
it.
Lorenz Tate,
Oh, I
Jada
have heard
Pinkett
of it. I've
Smith.
just never seen it.
Yeah, Dwayne Martin, Morris Chestnut is in that film,
Love Morris Chestnut.
and
That's a fine man. I'm sorry. Stay focused.
and the conversation that one of the twins has with Sammy about how you pleasure a woman.
Go ahead,
That
say
plot,
it.
that plot is in the ink. Plot is in the Inkwell. Inkwell is also a comedy, so it's super funny. 19, I think 92. The other film I want to see if you've ever heard of was Idlewild,
Yes, I just
2006.
made my husband watch. Made him watch Ottawa with me. I love Andre 3000. I love Big Boy, and Paula Patton was great in that film.
Paul Fat was great. Musical set in Prohibition era,
At the
American South. It was 1935
party,
Georgia.
at the party.
Absolutely, the movie was black excellence in my opinion.
Yeah,
It didn't do well in the box office, but
because it wasn't
the
really. It wasn't really. It was very early Black famous. All of the
for sure.
a majority of the characters in that film were very early Black famous.
Absolutely. But the movie didn't do well in the box office. I think it was too different. It was too outside the box.
I love.
It was like
I That is one of
y'all at a
my.
speakeasy. This is not a
Yeah.
gangster film. This is not a slave movie.
I
Y'all
mean, but it
playing
kind of is a
music.
gangster film.
Well, okay, but okay, not in
Not in
today's
the way that you
society.
would think.
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
For
Um,
2006, it was very. Yeah.
yeah, it was like this is weird. I loved it. I think the soundtrack is still fantastic.
Oh,
Coworker
yes.
mentioned Crossroads. It's 1986. Now this is when I was a kid. This is with Ralph Macchio,
Mm-hmm.
the original Karate Kid. And so a wannabe blues guitar virtuoso finds an old blues player and hopes he can teach him a long lost song about the legendary musician Robert Johnson. And I think Robert Johnson has some Arkansas ties, if I remember correctly. So those are the movie references I wanted to mention. I
Mm-hmm.
tried to look them up. All the movies that I tried to see could I watch on streaming networks. I some was on two were on Tubi. Everything else you have to rent and buy. So I would suggest going to your
Tubi
local
giving the people
library.
a run for their
Yeah,
monies.
because these films are oh
I do want to say one thing before I forget it, because I did forget
yeah.
it when I was talking about it. In the scene where Sammy is singing and we are going through the history of African American music, and we pan all the way out and the building is on fire, but the people are dancing and having a good time in it. It absolutely sums up the African American experience. Because while America is burning down around us currently, we are whoa, whoa, whoa. I got my boots on the ground. We are learning new line dances. Because it speaks to how resilient we are as a people. It speaks to how
Mm,
resilient we are and finding the joy even in the face of adversity. Even
all
when
around.
all around, when it's just like it just feels heavy, we can still be like, actually, whoa, 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 I got
I
my
got
boots
my
on.
boots on the ground.
Where the fans at? And I just was like, you doggone Ryan,
He did
you
his big one. He did his big one.
Mr. Kugler, this film, and I know the people, there are a lot of haterators, it's a lot of hateration in this dancery, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of the saints are like, oh, it's not a good film, it's gassed up. I implore you to go read up on the history of the Deep Dirty South, called the Mississippi Delta. That is Indianola. That is uh that is Greenville, Mississippi. That is Leland, Mississippi. That is Mound Bayou, Mississippi. That is Clarksdale, Mississippi. That is all. Just go over there, look at the Mississippi Delta right on that curve. Washington County, Yazoo County, all of them counties. Look at the rich history that it is, and try and put it together in your history, and you'll be able to see that the movie ain't that gas.
Last One of the last scenes in the film is when Sammy is reciting the Lord's Prayer and Remick knows it too. That gassed me, and because I was like, that's what they're in the water. The prayer of the righteous is going to save
the prayers
him from,
of the righteous availeth much.
like you were saying, like sin took him further. He didn't want to go, and he went back to what he knew, what was the Lord's Prayer to help save him. And when it didn't, I was like,
but it did.
As well as the sun,
Yeah, the sun,
the S-U-N,
and smoke,
or the S-O, and smoke, the S-O-N, shining down, and then
he
smoke
may not come when you
want him.
But
But he's right.
what Remick said was the oppressor always goes back to teaching you what he knows. I need you to lean on this faith too, but I need you to be dependent on it so that I can keep you where you are.
I don't have nothing to say.
10 out of 10.
Film, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. I would be very interested in learning more about this Sinner's universe. If Ryan has more parts of the story he wants to tell, if this is the end of his story, I will take it.
I don't want
need
another
Sinners
one.
2.
I
Would you like to go before? Would you like him to go back where Smoke and Stack were up in Chicago running amok? No.
I don't want a prequel. I don't want a sequel. I want Sinners.
Do you want Sinners? Okay.
Just leave. I think that this is a film that needs to be let alone.
Let alone?
Let it alone.
my
You don't agree?
No, actually, I kind of do. I'm like, this is Jordan at his 2-3. I don't need Jordan at the 4-5.
This is spot on. He gonna be able to eat from this because I'm gonna make my kids watch this when they get of age.
I'm saying, just like you were like historical music, like you could build like communities could build. Here is the Mississippi Delta, the music trail.
Yes,
let's put the museums.
There are already museums.
Okay, then let's do a tour.
I could. Matter of fact, you want to gas up my car? I take you to my Stumper Grass. I'm gonna take you to the BB King Museum in Indianola.
Okay.
There are museums.
Already there.
As a singer girl, like we already been an hour. We got to talk more about.
We got to talk more.
We got to talk more. Well,
okay.
We can. Me and you. We can shoot.
Of course.
Enough is enough. I implore people to go back into their history. Where we come from, the Great Migration out of the South. It did not just stop when it didn't stop when your people went to Chicago and went to St. Louis and went to Philadelphia and went other places. The history, you got to go back. You got to go back to the South. It all leads back to the South, whether it be Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Georgia. You got to come back down.
Come on back down.
Come on back.
All right. If there's more to say, we'll try and find it. Well, it's probably so much that we.
It's missed. So much. We could go over 3 hours if you ask me.
But yes. We'll put a pin in it right here. Thank you for listening, subscribing.
Chat with us in the comments. It's so much that we could talk about. I love it all.
Yes. Is this a horror film? Is this a new genre? Is this a musical?
I think it's a new genre.